this is what Robert Mugabe believed. The democracy that obtains in Zimbabwe is determined by the circumstances prevailing in the country. And likewise, how you do your democracy in the United Kingdom is determined by what is on the ground circumstances. And each one of us should therefore respect one another. Robert Mugabe, one of the things that he will be remembered for is that he was a Pan-Africanist. You recall in the introduction, we said that Robert Mugabe, besides being taught by Father O'Hare, he believed in Mahatma Gandhi and Kwame Nkrumah. And it is from these and many other African leaders that were before him, he took upon it as one of the leaders that will speak for the Africans on the globe and fight for the emancipation of the blacks on the continent. So his legacy, other than many other things, there are many things that we can talk about. His legacy is rich. We recognize that he was human. He had missteps along the way. But when we outweigh the missteps and the good things that he did, we always see Robert Mugabe as a beacon in the body politics of Africa, be it in development and other things.
Thank you for that. Before we get to the possibility of secession, I want to just quickly point out that, yes, the Zimbabwean economy may have also got a hit in follow-up to the land reform and maybe what the West will confirm as their own injustice. And we would need to understand what is meant by injustice in this sense, that for the West, if it is in their interest, that is justice. If it is not in their interest, that is not justice. So that if they come to your land and they take your land, they can blow all sort of grammar to you, that is justice for them. But if you try to reclaim it, of course, it was even constitutional what Zimbabwe did. And like you are saying, they are interpreting the law, they are interpreting their own democracy according to the sense and sensibility of their people and of their circumstances. That is what is happening in US. That is what is happening in UK. You don't go to UK and start meddling in their elections and start telling them this is what you should do. The people of the United Kingdom decide what is good for them. So every country in the world should be able to do the same. They should be able to organize their foreign and domestic policy according to how it affects their people. I think it should be simple to understand. All right, have we just clarified that? Because Mugabe is a leader, he have a foresight. Did he make any plan for secession, for somebody who is going to succeed him? Or did he think he was going to live forever? Let me understand that.
That one is a difficult question. This is where now we fail to understand Robert Mugabe, some of us. When all the good has been done, it came to a point where there was talk in the corridors of succession. And according to Robert Mugabe, the succession would only come through the power of the people. In the party, you had to be nominated, voted by the people. But we see some kind of culticism, something like a culticism emerging, where people were beginning to hero worship Robert Mugabe. Yes, he had so many things that he had done, but he was an individual who could not live forever. And it seemed as if he had no plan for him to nominate or train an individual, although in one of his speeches after he had been deposed from power, he said he had the intention of putting up somebody whose name he mentioned. But it was not clear, because we we saw the wife, Grace Mugabe, coming in and even trying to usurp power. We began to see decisions that we felt now that these were decisions that were coming from the bedroom rather than from the State House. So the plan for Robert Mugabe in terms of succession was not very clear. And should we say that he resisted to be replaced? You cannot say that with certainty, because there was no attempt in all the congresses that were done to nominate someone else other than Robert Mugabe. So, but he should have been conscious enough. He should have been a good leader. Like what we have said, he should have foreseen the fact that he was not going to live for eternity. He should have started to build some leaders. Well, he could argue, if he was there, to say that I was, because we saw a few, we had what was known as the Generation 40. And the Generation 40 was made up of people that were in the 40s who felt that it was time for them to rule. So there was another group of people that felt, no. They are now using Robert Mugabe to ascend to power. Was it his plan? Nobody could say with certainty whether he was building a generation or a group of leaders from those who were 40. The succession plan was not clear. That is why we saw what took place in 2017. It was out of frustration, probably, of what was now happening in state power, where people felt that there were others who were trying to ascend to power, run the country, whilst Robert Mugabe is there, because he was now getting frail, and you could see that he was tired. And there were now the wife, who was all over the show, and we had others whom many people felt were the advisors of the wife, but it was not very clear. And we were going towards a Congress, and as we moved towards the Congress, it was still not clear of what his succession plan was. So in actual fact, it is very difficult for me to I am not very clear whether he had any succession plan with respect to who would take over the running of ZANU-PF, and eventually, if accepted by the people, would then run the country.
This is where I think it becomes a little bit more complicated, the politics in Africa, in that it is a game, it's always a game, and it will always be a game. In fact, in most of the cases, most of the games in politics that we have played in Africa is a very short one. We don't play a very long game, because that is actually where we are going to be able to win. Because how long does a man live? Okay, you live, maybe you can even live up to 130 years. Let's even say so. But at 130 years, what are you going to be doing?